Hello everyone. In this presentation, we're going to delve into the specifics of game server services, which provide backend functions for games. We'll be outlining the various features it offers for you today. To start off, I'll provide an overview of game server services, also known as GS2. GS2 is a service that provides backend functions for games. The type of service we're talking about falls under the category of Backend as a Service, or BaaS. BaaS refers to cloud services that take over the backend functions of an app or system on behalf of developers. To put this in GS2's context, if the necessary backend functions exist within GS2, game developers can be freed from the trouble of designing and developing functions from scratch and managing complex infrastructures. This freedom allows them to concentrate on developing the front-end parts of the game that the users will actually see and interact with, which is where their efforts should ideally be focused. GS2 offers more than 40 backend features for games. These include commonly used functions in games such as account management, friend management, ranking, announcement delivery, and so on. Therefore, by introducing GS2, you can escape from the repetitiveness of so-called reinventing the wheel, where you typically have to develop common functions from scratch for each game project. This allows you to focus more on delivering unique game experiences to the players. Now let's delve into the specific labor benefits of introducing GS2, focusing on the development flow. Firstly, I'll run you through the flow if GS2 isn't used in the game development process necessitating backend functionalities. Initially, backend development tasks are a must. After designing, implementing, and debugging, the newly developed functions are deployed on newly constructed infrastructure. Once the backend environment is set up, work needs to be done to utilize it. Necessary master data is set in a database or similar, and then the game client implements the process to call the backend. This workflow needs to be followed for each backend function, making the whole process time-intensive and complex. Now, let's move on to the development flow when GS2 is adopted. Initially, you need to prepare backend functions necessary for the game you are developing. However, if these functions exist in GS2, you won't need to worry about them. GS2 has already taken care of designing, implementing, debugging, and deploying infrastructure for backend functions, which means developers just need to perform tasks required to use these functions. In terms of using GS2's backend, you can customize functions with scripts and set master data as needed. After these tasks are completed, you need to implement the backend call part in the game client. But don't worry, as a user-friendly SDK, it eliminates the need to figure out a system for calling GS2 functions from scratch. This greatly improves your development process and reduces complexity. To summarize, the key benefits of introducing GS2 are as follows. Firstly, various backend functions can be implemented swiftly. Basically, implementation is completed by simply calling GS2 functions from the client using the SDK. In terms of SDK, not only are the SDKs for game engines like Unreal Engine and Unity available, but they are also provided for major programming languages such as Python, TypeScript, and Go. Also, if the default functions alone cannot meet the required specifications, it's possible to extend the functions by using custom scripts. The elimination of the need for server operations is also a major advantage. All the infrastructure construction and operations necessary for backend functions are handled by GS2, relieving developers of those concerns. The GS2 infrastructure holds scalability to cope with sudden traffic surges, so user game experience will not be impaired by load-induced latency. To give concrete figures, it has been verified in advance by load tests to handle up to 100,000 accesses per second. In addition, the server security is at the top level in the industry. The latest OS and middleware are always being used, and there are robust access restrictions on the server itself. Now I'd like to detail the various backend functions available in GS2. GS2 doesn't only house backend functionalities for games, but it also offers features necessary for development and operations. These functionalities can be broadly categorized into player information, economy, communication, system, and development. I'll dive deeper into what kind of features each of these categories encompasses. Let's start with an example of a feature for managing player information. In the realm of player information, we have functions like GS2 account, which manages anonymous accounts for each player and provides authentication features, GS2 inventory, which provides functions to manage the item information that a player has, and GS2 stamina, which limits the actions a player can perform based on stamina that recovers over time. We also have GS2 Mission, which enables you to set up a system to award achievements, trophies, or missions based on player actions. These features provide a comprehensive toolkit to manage all aspects of player behaviors and rewards. Let's explore GS2 Inventory, which provides management functions for player-owned item information. This feature manages the item information owned by a player using 3 types of inventories. The standard inventory can be compared to a bag carried by the player, with the ability to set the maximum number of items it can carry, along with the validity period of each item. The simple inventory has a mechanism to perform addition and deduction operations for multiple items at once, effectively reducing the frequency of API calls when used correctly. The mass inventory is capable of holding items that exceed the range of a 64-bit integer. This is particularly useful when you need to manage quantities that surpass what other inventories can handle. Invocable API procedures include basic tasks such as item operations and retrieving inventory information, as well as acquiring a proof of possession signature to confirm that a particular item is owned by a player. Next, let's introduce an example of an economic feature within the game that involves the use of in-game currency and items. One such feature includes GS2 Money, which allows for balance management of in-game currencies carrying equivalent real-world monetary value. Next, we have GS2 Exchange, which enables exchanges of in-game resources, such as purchasing items using the currency. There's also GS2 Lottery, allowing you to implement so-called gacha functionalities for randomly determining prizes. Finally, there's GS2 Showcase, which enables the creation of item shops with display shelves. Let's go into more detail about GS2 Lottery, which allows you to implement gacha mechanics in your game. This function allows you to draw prizes randomly from a pool of available items, and it offers 2 different mechanisms with distinct drawing logic. A regular gacha executes a pure draw each time, using the probabilities specified in the prize table. On the other hand, box gacha removes a prize from the pool in subsequent draws once it has been won. Hence, if you were to repeatedly draw from a box with 10 prize items, you would collect all prizes by the 10th draw. The accessible API operations include executing a draw and resetting the contents of the box gacha, among others. Next, let's discuss an example of a communication feature that supports interaction between players. For communication functions, we have the GS2 Chat, which embeds a constantly connected text chat function within the game. With GS2 Friend, you can implement in-game friend management features and follow functions. GS2 Ranking allows for the creation of rankings, a competitive platform where players can vie with each other for game scores, clear times, and other performance metrics. GS2 Matchmaking enables players to find opponents based on various conditions. These features all contribute to fostering a lively and interactive community within your game. Now, let's delve more into GS2 Friend, which allows you to implement friend management and follow functions in your game. This feature assists players in building a dedicated social network within the game. Its primary functionalities are twofold. There's the friend function, where a mutual relationship is formed through friend requests, and the follow function, which allows relationships to be established unilaterally. In addition, it offers a profile feature that enables you to create separate content for public, followers, and friends. It also has a blacklist feature, to store information about players you would prefer not to interact with. Invocable API operations include sending and responding to friend requests, and viewing or updating information related to friends, follows, profiles, and more. Next, let's introduce an example of system features beneficial for the operation of the game. System features include GS2 News, which enables you to deliver announcements to players within the game in HTML format. GS2 Schedule assists in managing game event schedules such as seasonal events. GS2 Script extends GS2 to achieve game-specific functionalities. Finally, GS2 version allows you to implement features such as application version checks. Each of these services effectively supports diverse aspects essential to operating the game smoothly. Let's discuss more about GS2 News, which allows the delivery of in-game announcements to players in HTML format. In this feature, you can distribute HTML content generated by Hugo, a static web page generator. Hugo creates HTML files based on Markdown formatted article data and templates that determine the page layout and design. Not only can it deliver simple announcements, but by combining it with GS2 Schedule, which manages event schedules, you can also create article data that is linked with events. Furthermore, by using the access restriction function that leverages cookies, you can prevent access to content before its distribution. As for the API operations that can be invoked, they include acquiring article content URLs and obtaining a list of article data. By leveraging these operations, you can implement an announcement delivery function. Finally, let's introduce some features essential for server development and operations. Development features include GS2 Deploy, which creates resources for each service based on pre-established templates. GS2 Identifier allows for the management of user-specific credentials for accessing GS2. GS2 Log is responsible for the aggregation and computation of logs from various GS2 functions. These features collectively make up an effective toolkit for managing complex server development and operation tasks. Let's delve deeper into GS2 Deploy, which allows you to create resources for each service based on pre-established templates. Using this feature, you can create resources like master data for each service using a YAML format template. Automating resource creation with this function eliminates the need to manually register master data on the management console, thereby preventing configuration errors due to manual entry. Its main uses include improving efficiency in registering a large amount of master data, defining resources for specific environments like production or development, version control of resource definitions in combination with platforms like Git, and the creation and prompt removal of temporary dedicated resources for events and such. As you can see from the features introduced thus far, GS2 is equipped with numerous functionalities tailored for social game backends. Depending on the specifications of a social game, GS2 alone can cover all backend functionalities. For instance, essential functions required in a typical social game include mechanisms for player authentication, management of in-game information such as own characters or items, billing, lottery, player interactions, game operations, and game server development and maintenance. In GS2, by combining available services, you can singularly realize these functions. Lastly, let's recap what we discussed about GS2 in this video. GS2 is a backend as a service, BaaS, that provides game backend functionality, taking on the responsibilities of backend development and operations on behalf of game developers. The various functions of GS2 can be easily accessed using SDKs, which are available for game engines and major programming languages. When utilizing GS2, there is no need for server management. GS2 handles all aspects of constructing and operating the servers and the infrastructure keeping them running. GS2 is equipped with over 40 diverse game backend functions. Broadly categorized, these include features for managing player information, economic features based on in-game currencies or items, communication features that support player interaction, system features that aid in game operations, features necessary for server development and operation. By adopting GS2, game developers can focus on developing the actual gameplay aspect that users interact with. This concludes our video for today. If you are interested in GS2, please contact Class Method. Thank you for watching.